October Red is sponsored by SA Security. Maximum security, minimum fuss.
Hello and good morning. It's Saturday morning. It's January the 17th, 2026. And before I go on, I've got to say Happy New Year to all of you, subscribers, listeners, commenters, all of you. I wish you nothing but the best for 2026 and beyond. It's Abs of October Red, and we are back for news and reviews. It's been a bit hectic, you know what I'm like. I like to try and be as honest with my subscribers as I can. It's been a crazy beginning to the year. I've been extremely busy. As you know, boxing doesn't pay for itself, sponsors or not, nudge nudge. So I've been extremely busy, so it seems as if I've been a bit cute. Somebody on one of my comments the other day suggested that they thought I'd quit. So I'm just going to extinguish that straight away. There's absolutely no way that I'm going to leave boxing. When I leave boxing, it will be in a coffin at my funeral. And if you're like me and you believe in the afterlife or energy transference or exchange, I'll find my way back into the sport one way or another. Even if it's a pet of one of the key people in boxing. So that's me and my superstitious side. So yeah, the reason for today, and I only want to talk about stuff that's relevant, stuff that really gets my attention. And this has, hence the thumbnail. I thought I'd recreate the thumbnail as well. 2026, I'll probably be rejigging all of my thumbnails, you know what I'm like. Yeah, probably somewhere on the spectrum, but undiagnosed, I think. So yeah, we're going to talk about Zofa Boxing. As you know, I did a live with Frank Smith yesterday, and one of the guests mentioned what Eddie Hearn was doing about Bam Rodriguez. Well, what Matchroom, was doing about Bam Rodriguez and Jai Opetaia. And in hindsight, that question should have been asked in two parts. They're not part of the same management. They're not from the same country. Because I had heard rumours that Jai Opetaia had gone his own way. But about 2 a.m. this morning, for those of you that know me, I know I don't particularly sleep well. I had a WhatsApp message from Mick Francis of Tasman Fighters with the flyer that I thought I was actually seeing things with obviously Jai Opetaia's move. So let's get into it. As you know, Zuffa Boxing, Jai Opetaia. Another thing we're going to talk about is Virgil Ortiz and the shift in power in boxing news. So it's not changing. It is changing, and it's not changing quietly. In the past few weeks alone, we've seen Dana White enter boxing properly. A world champion signed with a brand new promotion. A top US star take legal action against his promoter. British boxing reshuffle broadcasters yet again. And an Olympic medalist reset his team. So it isn't news, it's, for better words, it's a power shift, isn't it? So we're going to break it down. You know me, I love a breakdown. So first of all, we've been talking about Zuffa, TKO, His Excellency's involvement, but we're going to go over it for those of you that are not quite sure or are new to this. We're going to break it down just for you. So, Zofa Boxing is the company that built UFC into the dominant force in MMA. They are the driving force that works inside of the UFC. Now under Dana White and the TKO Group holdings, they're officially entering professional boxing. As we've known, this was going to happen for a while. It's not a side project. It's a long-term structured play, and you know why that is. Zuffa's Boxing stated the goal is to do what boxing has failed to do for decades. Centralise promotion, clear ranking system, fewer belts, one dominant league style system. So that is the UFC model. And crucially, what this means is complete control. Look at it however you want. It's going to be centralised as promotional management, etc. There's going to be potentially one ranking system based on, I'm presuming they're going to come out with one belt, even though they've said fewer belts, but Obviously, that could be down to weights, etc., and one dominant league style system. Unlike traditional boxing promoters who rely on the sanctioning bodies, broadcasting, which is also fragmented if you want to look at it like that, even though DAZN is kind of umbrellaing the most of them now, and I've got a sneaky suspicion they'll umbrella Boxer too. Zuffa wants a closed boxing ecosystem, essentially, which runs parallel to the UFC model. As we know, that's going to take time, but that is what their strategy comes across as. But what hit me, and I knew he was looking around anyway, is Jai Opetaia signs with Zofa Boxing. The ambition became very real with that signing. Now, and I mean this in no disrespect, because it isn't, but Jai Opetaia is a name that we all know because of what he's achieved. So to me, this is the cream of the crop signing. He's the current IBF and Ring magazine Cruiserweight world champion. It's a huge signing, a great signing. He's not a prospect, he's not rebuilding, he's already up there. He's legitimate in his titles, and he's actually in his prime. So I think Opetaia signing to Zuffa, it definitely gives them credibility, because he's a recognised world title holder. Credibility within the hardcore boxing fans, not just the casuals will know him, but it's going to be more hardcore like you and I, the ones listening to this, and a foothold in the global championship conversation, because obviously he's not from the US, so that's an international signing for them. And it also sends a message to fighters across the division. Come on, if Jai Opetaia can sign with us, and you know who he's just left, he wouldn't have signed with us if he thought we were a bunch of idiots, if he thought we were cowboys, if we thought we weren't going to pay him properly. Because you know what Jai Opetaia is like. He's very outspoken. He knows what he wants, etc., etc. So to me, getting Jai Opetaia is a great signing, not just because of who he is, but because potentially what he will attract. Zuffa versus DAZN, and we'll talk about the broadcasting reality. I'm sure they're going onto Paramount. I'm sure one of my subscribers says they're going to Paramount. So Zuffa's not partnered with DAZN, we do know that. I'm sure they're partnered with Paramount and potentially CBS. So they're looking at mainstream US exposure, cross-platform, sports integration, event accessibility beyond hardcore boxing audiences. Obviously, we know that Paramount just isn't there for boxing, is it? It's a channel, so somebody flicking through that and thinking, oh, okay, I can watch some boxing, sports, whatever. I think that's good for them. My favourite, as you know, is Netflix. I'm quite biased about that. I think there's room in Netflix for a dedicated boxing channel, but that hasn't happened yet. But it definitely matters, because DAZN, like I said, is the key umbrella for streaming boxing. For years, as you know, Matchroom, Eddie Hearn took that risk when everyone was laughing at them. People were joking about it's an app. This time we were all on Netflix or buying stuff on Amazon. I was all for it. When I heard about DAZN, I'm one of these. Yep, definitely that works. And I mentioned Netflix. I says, well, Netflix is on an app. Why not DAZN? I always was for this online streaming, that portable streaming. Wherever you are, whatever you're on, you can watch it. But Zuffa's arrival has now introduced competition, and I believe you can think, oh yeah, they've not done anything yet, they haven't even had their first shot. Look, I'm looking at it as a long-term strategic business. This is an aggressive buy for Opetaia from Zofa Boxing TKO. That's an aggressive, you know, when you close a sale, you close the deal and it was an aggressive one, but you got it. This is the start. You know, the teetered out, they would have known, obviously, Opetaia was, you know, in the background, getting ready to close the deal, etc. But they gave us certain fighters for their debut cards, which I think I'm going to go through in a bit. But then they've hit you with that just before, a week before, in fact, 2 weeks before, apologies, before that card happens. So it could fundamentally change how elite boxing is distributed in the US. So interesting times. I think that's a great signing. I'm happy for Opetaia. He's entertaining. He's a nice guy as well. He's very focused, determined, and I understand that he was probably extremely frustrated because one thing that he always cried out for was activity. So let's see if Zofa Boxing, TKO Holdings, the whole shebang is going to deliver for him. So another thing that's been playing out in the internet, and I do follow Oscar De La Hoya. I think he's quite humorous as a fighter, as a person. His videos are comedy value. He's very sarcastic. He's witty, and I enjoy watching his clapback Thursdays, etc. Virgil Ortiz, I've met him, got him on camera as well. Great guy, really, really nice guy. But now there's issues between those two, and I spoke to Frank Smith about that yesterday, and it was just like, we've done all we can. It's actually down to them what they want to do. So we've got Virgil Ortiz versus Golden Boy Promotions. It just doesn't seem to stop. Ortiz has filed legal action claiming Golden Boy's broadcast deal with DAZN expired at the end of 2025. His contract was in contingent with that deal, so as long as Golden Boy are with DAZN, I stay with you, yeah? And he's saying without that now, because he believes that the DAZN deal is expired, he believes his contract is invalid and he's going to try and get out of it. But Oscar De La Hoya of Golden Boy disputes it. He says negotiations are ongoing, therefore the contract hasn't officially ended. So, Ortiz, you remain contracted. So, it highlights potentially a problem in boxing. Fighters increasingly, well, when I say a problem, it's almost like the fighters are taking the business matters into their own hands, even though I know it's his management that's been quite vocal about it. They're saying, you can't control me. I'm reading my contract, I've gone through the fine print, and the fact is X, Y, and Z. They're understanding what their leverage is, what their power is. Virgil Ortiz clearly understands that Matchroom want to give him that fight with Boots Ennis. And he's like, I want that fight. And his promoter said, yeah, you can have that fight, but I'm trying to negotiate you a better deal. Yeah, I think, what was it, 65-45, what was it, 65-35, 5% bonus for the winner. Yeah, something like that. But what Matchroom is saying is that we had sort of like a pre-agreement in place with the terms already agreed, and it was just down to you guys to sign that side of it. And then Oscar's probably looked at it and thought, you know what? Nah, I'm going to negotiate for more money. Hence the delay. Hence Virgil probably saying, I want this fight. Hence him probably going through his contract with lawyers, sports lawyers, management, whatever he's done. And they've found this potential loophole. This is a probability. This is a hypothesis of what I think could have happened. And he's like, nope. If that's the case, you don't own me. I want out. And I'm going to go and sign somewhere else. I wonder where Virgil Ortiz could go. Who knows? So broadcast deals are now central to contract legality, which I didn't know. Which is like, you can be signed with a promotional company. We've heard it before with Sky Sports potentially. That when fighters are signed to a promotional company, that comes with a caveat that they are broadcast by a certain broadcaster. Should the relationship between the promoter and the broadcaster fail, then the fighter has the right to leave. I've heard that before. It's not something new. However, it's new because it's out in the open and we don't necessarily see all the ins and outs in such detail with boxing, but we're starting to see that now. So if Ortiz succeeds, it could set a precedent, and one that affects fighters across multiple promotions, because they'll just use that as a blueprint. They'll just look at it. If it goes through, if it works, if he continues it, whatever, and it gets, he gets his way, he gets to exit the contract, all it will do is create a ripple effect, a knock-on effect, to say, well, I think I need to look at my contract. What's happening with my contract? Is it the same for me? I'm not too happy here, etc., etc. And in all that chaos that we see, and I'm going to go back to Zofa Boxing, they will look and think, okay, there's opportunities now to grab other key fighters. And when they get the other key fighters, it's not really clear if Zuffa TKO are going to be letting their fighters fight on other platforms except potentially ring cards, because you've got obviously the Saudi involvement with Riyadh season with that. So is it then going to pull other fighters away from their promoters to join Zuffa TKO? Like I said, this is a potential hypothesis of how the business could end up when there seems to be a structural failure in boxing in some cases. So have a think about that. You know what I'm like. I like to hear what you guys think in the comments anyway. Your opinions are great, as I'm just sharing mine. You know, I've given you what's out there, but I've given you my opinion, which isn't fact. It's just my opinion on how this potentially could go. I've been talking about the belts potentially being faded out over time. I said to you in my previous videos, my previous breakdowns of stuff, that this is a long-term project with Zuffa. Give them time. They've just announcing their first card, etc. Just give them time, because it's the hare and the tortoise, isn't it? So we'll see. We will see. I think when I spoke to Frank Smith yesterday, he said, look, Dana doesn't really seem like he's that passionate about boxing compared to how he is with the UFC. You know, and he was saying boxing is 100 and odd years old, and it's been around this long, and he can't really see the disruption as it is. But he, on the back of that, is he welcomes more promoters to the industry. I will see what will happen with the belts. My focus is the belts. If I live long enough to see it, because like I said, this isn't overnight. But signing up at Opetaia is a great signing. It's a carrot. Then we've got this stuff with Virgil Ortiz combing through contracts. We've heard this happen before with potentially Sky Sports and Boxer. So this is nothing that's new, but it's out there for our consumption. So like I said, let me know what you think in the comments. I'm going to end the video. I'm not really here, am I? It's audio. But whatever. With Frazer Clarke teaming up or having a trial with Joe Gallagher. And he said Noel Gallagher then. But Joe Gallagher out of Champs Camp in Manchester. Joe Gallagher, lovely guy, another straight talker. And it's really weird that I've never had him on the channel. I find that so weird, because he's always welcomed me and said, anytime you want to come up to the gym, come up to the gym. Because obviously I spoke to Natasha Jonas, obviously he's got Lawrence Okoli, now he's got Zalfa Barrett, all fighters that I've spoke to, but I just haven't spoke to him. I'm going to make an effort to do that. A warrior, I'm going to call Joe, because his battles that he's had with cancer, and he just kept on going. We saw the weight drop off him, but we saw him yet still in corners. An absolute solid man. And you've got to respect it. And I think I respect it more because I understand the effects, as you will as well. There's no one isolated in this. The effects of what cancer can do to people. I've lost family members, close family members. Family members are sick with cancer. So I understand, looking from the outside, looking in and seeing what it does to people. So for him to be able to get up and still go into boxing is absolutely phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. So I will get him on the channel. But this is about Frazer Clarke. So as you know, Frazer Clarke was with Angel Fernandez, been to the gym plenty of times when Riatpour was there, etc, etc. So been around him. And when Frazer was there, Frazer was with him from his debut. I believe that was the introduction, because Anthony Joshua was there at the time. At the time, Frazer Clarke was 258. He's no longer managed by 258. Also, you know, Ezra Taylor was there as well for a short period of time, to be fair, with Ezra. So we saw Anthony Joshua leave. We saw Richard Riatpour leave. We saw Ezra Taylor leave, being the shortest one that was with their training there. And then now we've seen Frazer Clarke leave. So yeah, let's get into that. Olympic bronze medalist has reportedly split with longtime trainer Angel Fernandez, and this was reported by Declan Taylor in the Ring magazine, so I've got to give them credit for this. I was sent the article, so thank you to my contact Mo at the Ring magazine, who always gets the inside scoops early. He'll let me know what they are, and obviously potential dates for them being released, so I'll never discuss anything until it's out in the public. One of the things that I pride the channel on is integrity, not backstabbing, not doing things for clicks and views. Every viewer that takes their time out of their day to listen to my content, I want them to enjoy it, and I want them to see it as wholesome and as honest as I can be, even if you don't agree with my opinion. Trust is what I value myself on. There's a video actually, it's on my Instagram page, about high performers, and about performers and trust. And I would say I'm potentially a medium performer. I'm not high because my numbers aren't through the roof. I'm medium, but my trust levels are extremely high. So I'm high trust. And apparently the ones that do well, or the ones that get the jobs, are supposed to be of my caliber, allegedly. It's a really good psychological breakdown video of what I think it's like the Navy SEALs or the SAS use when they're looking for reliable staff. Anyway, I digress. So he's left. He had the devastating loss to Fabio Wardley, even though that first fight was a proper beautiful fight. I loved that fight. I debated that actually Fraser won the fight, but whatever. That was a draw. Come back. Fraser said, listen, not today. Finished it early. Really scary facial injury there from Fraser. And then he lost on a split decision defeat to Jamie Takivi as well. And you think about obviously the injuries that he's sustained. The Jamie Takivi fight, he absolutely looks spent. Just not with it. Even when his trainer was in the corner, I had a go saying that he should have just pulled him out. I remember saying that, I think it was either on the live or one of my videos after, because I think he should have done. So all of these things, I'm not saying Fraser's listened to it, because he's got his own mind, and he's very strong-minded anyway. I've spoken to him several times. And he's just thought, I can't do this. I remember I did say to him, are you sure about the decision you're making to stay here when all the fighters have left? Because I thought, when one fighter goes, it's kind of like, yeah, some people move on. But when you're the only one left in the gym, I was thinking, are you sure you're making the right decision? That was obviously off the camera conversation, and obviously the result later on, and this is after these two fights, we've seen what's happened. He's gone. A fighter's reassessing everything, because you've got to, it's his career at the end of the day. You can argue that you come out of the Olympics as a medalist late, and I think the later you come out as a pro, especially as a heavyweight, damage. There was a live I was going to do with a heavyweight fighter actually, because this is something I wanted to speak to him about. Are you guys staying on Team GB for too long, holding out for this medal, yeah, when you've been on podium spots and all you're doing is adding years to your career? So it's a debate, and I'm sure you guys will speak about it in the comments. So for Clark, this is about more than tactics, about identity, confidence, career direction. He clearly wants to stay in the sport of boxing. The change has told us that he's not retiring, he's not walking away, he's still got fight in him, and this is all he knows. Fraser's been boxing for years. It's all right for us to sit here as boxing fans and give our opinions on what we believe is the best for the fighter, and we are never wrong in giving an opinion because we pay for the sport. We're sort of like shareholders, if you like. We're consumers of the sport. So yes, we do have a right to have an opinion, but the fighter doesn't have to listen to us, because ultimately it's down to him whether he goes on and succeeds and becomes a world champion, or he falls into a demise and ends up having to retire, say medically, or makes a decision for his family that, you know what, I'm just going to spend my time now with my family, etc., etc. So from a fighter's point of view, they're going to do what they want. It's their career. But I'm not going to sit here and say that we can't have an opinion because we have an interest in the sport, because we pay all the subscriptions to watch the sport, because we attend the fights themselves. We have an interest. We support the fighters. Yeah. So boxing's entry, I'd say, from all of this stuff happening, and I want your opinion. I put the post up on social media about Fraser trialing out with Joel Gallagher. And I got some good responses, and well, to be fair, most of the responses in the comments were at last sort of on that line. So I'd appreciate your comments in the post. So we're gonna finish then. It's boxing's entering another transitional era, one that could either modernize the sport or deepen the divide between the traditional league based models. I think I'm gonna say probably the next 2 years are going to be crucial for the sport to see the direction. It could be sooner, we'll see. And I'm going to finish to say this isn't about side, it's about structure, power, and the future of boxing. So I want to know your thoughts in the comments. Zuffa good or bad for boxing? Now think of the model, yeah? Think of the recent signing and not your personal opinions on who's involved. Talk about the structure in it. I need us to be critical thinking on this so I can get some really in-depth comments. Should fighters follow the UFC model? I've just kind of mentioned that. And can traditional promoters survive what's coming? Now I'm going to answer that one because I believe they can. I think with boxing, it's so niche. It's an incredible thing. And I think our promoters are made of steel. So I'll give my early opinion on that. I believe they will survive. My question is will Zuffa and TKO weather the storm to get to where they need to get? So let me know what you think. Subscribe to the channel, the usual good stuff. I'll try and do more of these. I need to, but I've just been mad busy. So like I said to you guys at the beginning, Happy New Year. I wish you nothing but the best for this year and years to come. Thank you for your continued support. It doesn't go unnoticed. I'm going to start doing a Q&A session, I think. A live Q&A. Maybe just once a month, I don't know. We'll see what happens. I need to switch it up. I said I was going to start doing the drive time at 6 a.m. But I kind of like leave out for the office at 6 a.m. So that's kind of flopped. But we'll see. We will see. But one thing's for sure is that I'm grateful for all of you guys that have took the time out to listen today. And as we say, October Red, stay ready.
October Red is sponsored by SA Security. Maximum security, minimum fuss.